How's everybody doing? Can anybody hear me? We'll get started in a couple minutes. So just hang tight. Hey, how's it going, guys? Can you guys hear me? If you guys can hear me, can you please confirm in the different platforms? Okay, awesome. Thanks, Randy. Yeah, just on the starting soon page right now. I'll switch over to the other one. Awesome. How's the music? Is the music too loud? I'll bring it down a little bit. Can't hear it? Okay. Yeah, it's pretty low, so it's just more like ambience music. Alright, let's switch over. So if you guys have been following me or haven't, here's a few links to my website, magvfx.com. Show you guys kind of what I do for work. If you guys want to follow along, you guys can download my free UI. It has all the shaders and brushes that I'm using in case you guys want to do some stuff as I'm doing it. And for social media, feel free to follow me on magvfx on their Instagram. So today we're going to be working on this guy a bit, kind of refining secondary shapes and continue with the rest of the body. Here's some more renders that I did over the weekend. I'll show you guys. Switch this over to GPU mode. But we'll be working on this guy today. Let's see. All right, GPU mode. Let's see. Oh, hey, Randy. Oh, thanks for joining. If this is the first time, this is awesome. Should be fun. We'll be working on this guy's body. So I managed to work on it over the week for an hour or two. So I was able to block out the rest of the body, which we'll see today. But this is just kind of where we're at with this guy. We'll probably work on some hands and face details. We'll probably do some test renders as well, just to make sure we're getting what we want. So a few things I want to change. Maybe the slope of the head a little bit, give him a little more of a bit of a jaw. But let's switch over to ZBrush. So here's the body that I've worked on. Let's show the head. So I stitched the head together so that we can see what that's going to look like when it gets merged, and you know, the transitions from the neck to the clavicle, that type of stuff. Let's see. I think I need one or two more confirmations before we continue, but I'll keep talking with this. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. So I'm crazy enough where my system is fast enough where right now that I'm doing these tests, I'm just exporting the 6 million polygon model and just rendering it without displacement. But eventually will be displacement, just not yet. Just because it's just still, if you look at the mesh, it's still Dynamesh. It's not, you know, some of these groups are pretty jacked up. So I will have to retopo it and then transfer maps and all that. But for these primary tests, it's pretty simple to just start doing that now, to see if there's something that I'm not seeing here that I'm not liking, you know. Yeah, last week we were working on hands a little bit, so I'm working them a little more, fuse them to the hand. So we're probably gonna play around with those more. I got the rest of the body blocked out. I got to work on the feet, but this is just kind of where he's at. A little bit of anatomy work. It has to be refined, so we'll probably do some of that stuff as we're going along. So even now I'm seeing stuff that needs to be kind of fixed a little bit, so let's go ahead and start fixing some of this stuff. So one thing we're gonna do is create ourselves a model with subdivisions, just because I think we have everything working. Well, let's work on the feet a little more, and the integration of the feet. But now it's going to get pretty hard to do anything with any major changes. So you see how slow it was. So I'm going to have to switch over to a ZBrush version, which we'll do right now. Just because I still want to make some major changes, like the legs. I saw some few things. Maybe the elbows need to be a little lower, but it'll be easier to do it if we had subdivisions than if we're trying to do it as is right now. So how's everybody doing out there? Hopefully everybody's staying safe, staying home, working on some ZBrush stuff. If you guys have anything to share, feel free to share a link to me through the chat, and then we could probably post it up here and show it, or if you guys want some feedback as well. So since this guy's about 4 million polygons, it's taking a bit of time to kind of do the ZBrush, but not a big deal. We'll see how much we get it down to right now. Pretty low. So what we could do now is hide everything else, show both bodies, subdivide that guy, project details, project some more details. The easy remesh? No, I haven't tried it actually. Maybe it's a good time to try that out. Well, I need to download it actually, so I haven't tried it. Let's see, a couple more projections, and we should be there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna work on the head separately. I just wanted to kind of see it fused together here, but as you can see, I was hiding it so that I can work on the detail face, because this one, since I wasn't ZBrushing it or Dynameshing it, it lost some of the details that should still be there, but it's okay, not a big deal. A little bit of a waiting game. So I have some cool reference that I wanted to share with you guys, if I have that here. Let's see. Almost done with the projections. Some of these details I I'm gonna be kind of incorporating to my alien. A little bit of, you know, wear and tear. Kind of looking at some of this stuff. Nothing major, just okay, let's see. Cool. So it looks like we're almost matching it. Maybe one more. This is at 3 million. Let's go one more. Let's see, anything in the chat? Nothing so far. All right, cool. So this is going to give us the ability to work a little faster, even though it takes a little bit of work up front, like what we're doing now. But that'll be much better, especially since I'm still tweaking proportions. And I'm still thinking about the idea of having two of the fingers kind of be merged, but we'll see. Maybe even adding a third finger, or I guess fourth finger. Probably also be working on another project that I started last night. Let's see. Yeah, well, once it's done with this, I'll show you guys. Still going. All right. Yeah, but the main thing is to project in every level, right? Not just project like level 6, because it'll probably crash, or some, you know, some of that stuff would get wonky. So you kind of project and you check as you're going. Yeah, that's why I hit everything else, because if not, it's gonna project that detail onto the current model, and I just want to retain the other model, but with levels of subdivision. This one's taking a lot longer because it's about 14 million, which maybe was a little overkill, but it's fine. Let's see, come on. But yeah, we'll work on some face detail, and I just want to do some major proportion changes right now. That's the reason we're doing this part. Oh, the Baby Yoda thing? You know what? I kind of forgot about it. I printed 2 other molds, and I bought some silicone and latex to play around with, and I haven't done anything with it. I actually started printing another model to do some. If you guys want to see it, I'll give you guys a preview of something else I printed. I actually just finished printing this morning. So here's part 1 of the mold, and here's part 2. So these guys are going to go together just like that. And I'm gonna pour some silicone on this, but I completely forgot about the Baby Yoda. I should get back to it and wrap it up. It just, you know, it was fun, and then I kind of forgot about it. So what happens with a lot of these projects, I just move on. But yeah, I should probably go back to it on, you know, this week sometime and just wrap it up. This one's taking a while. Let's see. Hopefully it'll be done soon. Well, I'm glad you remember the Baby Yoda. I completely had forgotten about it. Let's see. Come on. There we go. So now it's, you can see it looks pretty one-to-one. So now we can get rid of that guy and tweak those legs. Well, first, actually, let's save real quick. Hey, how's it going? Thanks for joining. Alright, so let's go back to this. Let's go back to hiding that. Go back to it now. A lower subdivision level. Tweak some of these legs anatomy just a little bit. That back a little stronger. But you guys can see how much lighter this is. You could probably even go level 1. Much easier to modify. It feels a little more balanced. It just felt too short earlier. Hey, how's it going? Thanks for joining. All right, let's go back to. What happened to his music? So it's important to tweak all this stuff from all the different angles. You know, maybe you start with the front side 3/4, but then move on and make sure that all this stuff is working from all the other angles. Yeah, this is kind of part 2 because we started blocking out the body last time, but it was a lot more rough. So feel free to check that stream out if you guys want to see how I got started. So all the shapes kind of build up on themselves, and sometimes we just switch it and do something completely different. Let's change this music. Much better. I like the arms. All right, let's turn that head back on. So as you guys can see for the head, so because I was dynameshing and working on the body and was kind of careless. We maintained a lot of the primary forms, but we lost a lot of the secondary stuff that I was working on and trying to enhance. So what we're going to do now is kind of work on the other head and then fuse it back together. You saw that I smoothed a lot of stuff on the neck, which I kind of want to add a little bit more to make it feel like a very old skin. So we'll be working on that part. But let me move that other head back. And it's nice to see it with there you go. much more pleasing to see this way. So we're going to be working on this head now. So some of the stuff that I started outlining here is kind of the eye bag. I kind of want to make sure that was very present, because the eyes are so big that the skin needs to kind of really like go around the spheres, you know, like the eyes. Let's see, where are those eyes? So you need to have a lot of skin to be able to cover those eyes, so I kind of wanted to work on that a little bit today. And you'll see me switch shaders a lot, so if you guys want some of those shaders, are the ones that are in my profile, in my Gumroad. Just shaders that I collected throughout time with So one thing I try to make sure here is that we see the shelf of the eye, and it's very clear where the edge is at. Yeah, you could mix projects. I could reproject this detail back onto the other one, but at the end I'm going to redo the whole thing. So this is just kind of temporary placeholders for all this. Hey, how's it going, Side Effects? Man, doing great, man. Thanks. Recovering from a kind of weird cold that I had the last couple weeks. It's finally going away. Last week I was still feeling pretty sick, but I still wanted to stream, so I just jumped on here. So here's some of the things that I wanted to get rid of, like these tangents that are not quite as nice as they should be, you know, or if there's any lumpy surfaces, kind of clean some of that stuff up, you know, play with the caruncle. One of these is my caruncle. Yeah, those are my caruncles. Oh, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, I really appreciate everybody turning into the stream. I know you guys probably busy, you know, relaxing, trying to not think about any crazy stuff that's going on in the world. Really appreciate you guys tuning in. And in this case, it looks like I turned off symmetry, but not a big deal. Oh yeah, go ahead, ask. So I'm here for. If there's any way I can help you guys, feel free to ask me any advice or any of that type of stuff. Let's soften this stuff up here. Let's see, what do we have for reference to check out? On this current mesh, on just the head, it's about 2.3 million. So you can see up here, there's the active points and then overall points. So my whole scene with all the other stuff that's in there is about 21 million. But the head itself is about 2 million. So it's a little dense, but nice thing is they also have subdivisions, so that kind of helps if I need to do any major tweaks. Like one thing that I was thinking about was the curvature of the head of the skull. So yeah. I think you have to go one at a time. I don't think there's one place where you can just download the zip, which I know kind of sucks, but it kind of makes you pick and choose what you want, you know. So that kind of, I guess that helps. So I think last week we talked about the move tool, right? Like having this move tool. Let's say I wanted to tweak the skull, but you see how it's not lifting the center part, like nicely. And it's about this new move tool, the Move Infinite, and that works really nice because that's moving everything in the same plane. So everything that's right going through it, it's moving it all along, not just the stuff that's like, if it doesn't see it, it won't move it. So one thing I was trying to balance out from my renders in Maya, let's see, where's Maya, is that I kind of didn't like the way this was looking. Let's see. Let's do a quick render. Like the dome shape, like there's something off about this. Like I wanted to kind of tweak that, and also like how bulbous it gets back here. Like he has no occipital, like the back of the head just looks like a sphere. So I kind of wanted to tweak that as well. It's not bad, but it just, I think it could be better, you know. So I wanted to kind of work on that a little bit too, so that it feels like there's a switch over to our other tool. More of a structure of the skull happening there than just a continuous bulbous head, you know? See, kind of breaking that edge. And also probably having to extend the neck out a little bit. Let's get rid of that wireframe. Just to break that profile. You know, also like the back of this is nice and smooth, but I think it could be maybe a little less. What do you guys think? Are you guys liking the way this alien is coming out? I'm kind of digging it. I just feel like there's a few things that I wanted to adjust, because there's a few things that I saw on some reference that I had. Let me see if I can pull that up. Like this reference, I really like this reference, how elongated this guy feels, and I kind of wanted to add something to this guy, but not too long, just a little longer and slimmer. You know, things like that. Nothing crazy major, just a few things that I think could be cool. Here's another one, the references that I was looking at. I feel like if the body's a little taller and longer, or maybe if the limbs are just longer, it'll feel a little creepier. And that's kind of the feeling I want to add to this guy. Yeah, so since I'm just doing, most people wait until they're done to do all their test renders. I tend to not wait. I tend to do them early on, even if the model is not finished. To start showing like to kind of start seeing like primary shapes, because there was a few primary shapes even between. Let me see if I can pull up my Instagram. that you'll see even in this thumbnail version. If you look at this image and this image, they're quite different. Like the structure changed, especially like the cheekbone. That was one of the major things that I adjusted on last week. Like the structure of the cheekbone didn't feel right, and also like the amount of the mouth. They're small changes, but they make, I think they make a huge difference. Hey, hola, ¿cómo estás? And those are the kind of changes that I'm trying to make now, right? That I'm seeing, like, there's something I don't like about how flat this is looking here. Like, no, it's not showing, but maybe let's go to the Maya version. Maybe I don't need to render it. Like, I'm not digging the way this is looking, so this is the type of stuff I wanted to adjust. Maybe give him a little bit more bottom cranium and adjust this. Or I'm not really digging too much like how he's looking from the front, so I'm making those big changes. But sometimes you need to render them to see that. You could render here as well, you know, like doing the VPR render and start seeing that. But I feel like I want to see it in the program that I'm gonna finally use him in. See, like now we're breaking this up here, so it doesn't feel so like a strange transition, like just like a sphere in the back of his head. And those are the type of changes that I like doing and checking the renders for. You know, it's okay if there's a little bit of a break there. Maybe giving him more of a chin. And here's where maybe we could play with some layers. Let's see what's going on, because there's a few things I wanted to play around with. And it's kind of what I was talking about, the elongation of this whole thing. See, but now it has to be adjusted from the back too. Because the details are going to be fun to do, but that's the part that I'm not really worried about, because I know we could use alphas, we could just spend a whole bunch of time sculpting. So this is like the primary, secondary forms are the ones I'm really trying to like get down, you know, that feel solid. Also maybe the ridge. Hey, how's it going, ZBrush Princess? Oh, thanks, really appreciate it. So with this music, it's always putting audio on now, like putting voice over this. See, also like this is starting to get flat, so how can I start pushing this forward? Just so it doesn't feel so flat, you know? I think that's an important thing. Sometimes you have to just, you know, hey, what's up, Rudy? Sometimes you just have to start tweaking things to, you know, see if they're working the right direction you want them to or not. And you guys see me do that in the stream. Sometimes things work out, sometimes they don't. So it's just trying to break this. Maybe you could tuck this in a little bit more, but still break that. That's just like a sphere shape. So I feel like this, let's see what this looks like before and after. See, I feel like that's looking much better. A little bit longer face. What do you guys think? And of course you have to check it from all the different angles, right? Like in perspective mode. See what that's looking like. See, now it feels like there's more of a skull shape underneath this whole thing. Let's see, let's turn off the paint on that. There we go. So there's some of this temporal region that we need to kind of tweak. One thing is trying to keep this curvature going. See how it's starting to kind of break? Yeah, ZBrush is awesome. Yeah, I love ZBrush. It's amazing. So some of the things that I'm talking about is this region, right? That's supposed to loop back this way, and we're starting to kind of break that a little bit. It's starting to get too low, so we're gonna have to tweak some of that stuff. See, we lost some of the curvature, so we just need to kind of just hint it back in here. Obviously that's way too strong, so let's turn that down to like half. And then we can kind of mask this area out. Let me soften it a little bit. Hit it a little bit with the inflate or inflat. Just to emphasize that ridge, and then maybe push this one in a little bit the opposite direction and smooth it out. There we go. The active it should be on by default if you have 2020 or 2020.1.1. It should be on there. So I'll probably, you know, play around with that. And you can make it smaller or bigger, or you can make it go away too. I think it's in the preferences. Where the thumbnail. You can turn it off if you don't want it, or you could turn it on to be non-silhouette, but that defeats the whole purpose. But yeah, you could change it around if you want to, or you know, do your own. So let's see. So what did we go from? I think we need to make him a little wider. Let's see. I keep changing that. Welcome. One thing I wanted to do too is play around with the ears, because I feel like they're important, but they're kind of getting left behind a bit. So let's do a little bit of work on those guys. Just kind of giving them a little bit of a structure so they don't feel like it's just a hole. Any other questions? So a lot of this stuff is going to get softened out. Just keep that in mind. So if you see me going too heavy-handed, it's probably going to change a bit. I don't want it to be too distracting. It's starting to become a little bit. So here's where we can go and soften some of this stuff up. So what I did there, I just moved my my smooth standard to less, to the normal instead of the strong, because it was going to destroy too much of the detail that I'm trying to just kind of soften. Oh, thanks for the follow. Now we gotta start playing around with some of these crow's feet. How you guys like the pace? Is this working for everybody? Let's see, let's check out some reference. Checking out the chat. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. Yeah, some of the reference that I'm looking at is some stuff like this. Obviously, I don't want to copy that design, but it's just kind of, there's a few things that I like that I kind of maybe want to incorporate. Oh, thanks, Otto. Yeah, I think from this series, we're gonna probably spawn off to do a series of aliens, like more aliens, like starting with the Greys and then maybe another traditional type of aliens. But I'll eventually want to switch to like a lot more extreme ideas. So if you guys are digging this, feel free to tune in for more alien-related things. Hey, Chi-Town to Texas. How you doing? I could do it on my Twitch, on my regular Twitch, or I could do it here. It just depends. Since it's not, I'm not going to retop it inside of a ZBrush. Maybe it's not a good idea to do it on the ZBrush podcast, ZBrush stream. But yeah, I'll probably cover some of it if you guys are interested. So a lot of it just depends on the stream. If people want to see more of this stuff, it's cool. If not, I don't want to bore you guys, you know. So I want to keep that lid like pretty clean. So one thing I noticed is that I put a little bit of detail that I didn't really want. So sometimes if it catches stuff early enough, you can just fix it as you're going along. Let's see, any other questions? Let's save this. One thing I wanted to play around with was also veining. So maybe let's make layers. Let's make that into a layer. I usually almost never do veining on any of my characters, but maybe just the arms a bit. Of course, that's way too much. Maybe a little too thick as well, but we're gonna play around with this stuff. So here's where we can use the smooth stronger and smooth all the tips out, or different areas of it. And we can also tone it down here. Fine. Something like that. If I don't like them, I could turn them off. This thing is just view mask, so I guess if you in let's say I mask something, and I kind of don't want to see it, but I still want to keep the mask. Let's see, where did I just click on? Masking. It's this basically this. So it still keeps it there, it just kind of hides it for me to not be able to see it. I just made a shortcut up there. It was just easier for me to, instead of having to come in here. So it wasn't really a shortcut, it was just UI change. So even that, I feel like those veins are maybe way too much still. So let's go like half of that. 0.25. Yeah, that's much better. So here I feel like the head got much better, but maybe I feel like maybe the face got too elongated, but let's see. Maybe just a little bit. So I might just tone that down, but not a big deal. That's what this is for, right? You have layers. Let's add that layer on. How you guys see that? Yeah, it saves the state, so you can always like tweak it if you don't like the way it looks. And that's kind of what I'm doing now. I feel like I liked it much better when it was just a little wider. Just to get more of that teardrop shape. Let me see if I can show you guys what I'm talking about. Let's see, where's my Epic pen? Let's see if it works on this screen. It doesn't work. There's a weird glitch with this thing where no, I guess you could do it, but without that. So basically what I wanted to do is make sure that this is like nice and triangle, like it has a shape that kind of tapers from the bottom. Yeah, it's pretty good, right? Because you can kind of double check all your stuff, and if there's stuff that you liked or didn't like I feel like this is more alien-like, like more of that. So here I'm seeing, even on the silhouette, I'm seeing there's like a bit of a dent that it kind of, you just have to remember to record this little dent that I'm trying to fix. So I like that much better. But that's the power of the layers. The layers are pretty amazing. You do want to be careful not to do too many layers, because I had issues where some stuff has gone corrupt. But it's pretty rare. Just be careful, or make sure you're recording on the right layer. See, like I forgot to press record. So it's always a balance, right, of how much to add, how much to remove. I know, all aliens look alike, right? They all look similar at some point. So let's fix some of this next stuff that I wanted to look at. Some of the stuff that I've been looking at was like this guy here. Really like the way his neck is. It's defined, but not too defined. So I might add some of that stuff. Well, thank you, appreciate it. One image that I saw that I kind of wanted to add some details from, but it's gonna be a fine balance. It's some of some of these wrinkles, you know, like I want to add a little bit more of that bag that I was talking about. Maybe some of these wrinkles down here. But that's about it. I don't want to make it too aged and wrinkled and like leathery. If that makes any sense. In fact, let's add some of that stuff now. Let's make this smaller. So if you want to make this smaller or bigger, you just have to click on the corner and they'll kind of change it. It'll let you adjust it. But let's tweak some of that neck first, and then so for the neck, I'm just hitting it with clay and kind of filling some of these gaps up, because if you saw my other one, you know it's not going to be so defined. It's going to be softened up. So I might as well start doing that now. But I do like this old neck. Yeah, a lot of stuff is going to get softened, so not too much to worry about. Let's see, so let's also touch up some of the mouth stuff we were talking about. So I want some of this little more fatty parts to kind of start overlapping each other a little bit. So, you know. Yeah, exactly. Like maybe a little too beak-like, right? Like that starts to look too much like a beak. So that's some of the stuff that I want to not get too close to, you know. Have a little bit of mouth, so maybe I need to correct the mouth shape. Or even looking at this, right? Like, did it look better before? Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. So the reason I turn it on and off is so I can see how much is this actually overlapping and if it makes sense or not. One thing we can also do is go to masking, mask by cavity. Look at some of these guys, soften them up, and then hit it with just a bit to kind of help me bring some of these volumes up, give it a little bit of secondary forms, you know, just inflate a little bit of that stuff. Not a lot, just a tiny bit. Make it look easy. You know, just practice, man. That's all it is. The more you practice, the easier it's gonna get for you. Believe me, there was a time when actually I was hitting it. See, I was hitting it with the wrong brush. So I want to do inflate. I don't want to do a clay, because clay just pushes it out and it has a flat tangent. I want to round some of that stuff off. But obviously, you want to do that very low with opacity too. Yeah, but all it is, all I'm doing is just practice, you know. It's so if you practice enough, you get the hang of it. But you see, I blur the mask a lot, so I just get a little bit of influence from that, not a lot. So when I'm pushing, there's a little bit of a recess in there, you know, just to kind of help me break up the big shape. And when I'm doing this, I'm just, you know, either looking at reference or thinking about how the skin would hang on your face, that type of stuff. Another one for this type of stuff is also, so not just cavity. Cavity is great, peaks and valleys. But you might want to play around with the range of the peaks and valleys. Because sometimes it could look like a cool texture. But that's not kind of what I'm going for, right? So sometimes the range of this stuff needs to be tweaked. Sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes it does. Let's see, here's where we can start playing around with this stuff. Let's say 5. So here we're getting some more interesting stuff, right? That we can start playing around with, softening. But even then, I feel like we could. Maybe this is like a 3. Now we can use still the inflate and just go in there and break some of this stuff up. But that's the whole point of the stream, right? You guys see my workflow. Hopefully inspires you to, you know, try something new. If not, then no big deal. If you guys already know how to do this, that's great. But hopefully it just kind of gives you a little bit of an insight. So I tend to vary my brush width so it doesn't all feel the same. And here's a really nice thing, right? Because we were hitting all this stuff evenly, but now this is pretty broken up. So now you can make some of these parts feel a little, you know, give them some variation. So if we go back in the history, just save real quick. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I love aliens. So for me, I stayed away from them for so long because so many people do them. That I didn't want to just jump on the bandwagon, but I think now it's time for me to do more fan art and more like just things that they used to inspire me, you know. So here I'm kind of rolling back into history just to see what that has done, so we can kind of roll back. And you see here they felt pretty flat, like, you know, they were sticking out, but they were pretty flat. So this kind of, hopefully with this it kind of makes them feel like like kind of old elastic skin that's kind of been worn down, you know. That's kind of the feeling I'm trying to go for. Hopefully that kind of helps explain why I'm doing certain things. I see how it kind of just breaks those shapes up a little bit, and I'm still probably going to go in there and smooth some of this stuff, like this stuff here, like just transition it nicer. And then eventually I'll do some asymmetry stuff too to break the overall look. But right now, since we're still early stages, we're just kind of, you know, it's okay to soften this stuff up. You know, transitions so that not everything feels, it has the same weight. But I'm glad you guys are digging it. Oh, cool. That's good. That's the whole point of me doing this. Hopefully, I can help you guys learn, and you know, try a few new things. I do things all the time that are out of my comfort zone, so hopefully that helps. See, like now, right? I see that this is way too. Let's just turn off. Let's turn off the body. To indent it. Look at that. That needs to come out more. But sometimes if you don't go to that view, you don't see it. The nice thing is that we can go back to our lower level. We can make our brush bigger. You know, that needs to come out a little bit, right? So I can add a little bit of this mask in here. That's the area that I want to kind of get rid of that dent. It should have a nicer transition, right? And the main thing is to be gentle with this stuff, right? Like, well, so that's one way to do it. Or I can also, since we're so low, I can use the clay to kind of, if I wanted to do a different view, you know, soften up some more. Kind of even it out in there. Add a little bit more clay to get that tangent going. But yeah, hopefully next time you guys see this, it'll be nice and detailed and maybe even posed. I really want to 3D print this guy, but we'll see. I have lots of projects that I want to 3D print. So now that we got rid of that, we see a little bit of transition that we need to tweak here. Or if you look at the shape, you guys can see that there's some kind of weird fall off here, right? So I want to start tweaking that slowly with the move tool. See, now that brow feels like it's actually doing a nice transition. Any questions? Please help you download from the. Let's see. This is like the 4th time you asked that. Let's check that out. Let's see what he's talking about. Oh, not that. Are you talking about this stuff? Like how do you download this stuff? Hey, how's it going? Sudux03? I think at this point you just have to kind of there's no way to like download all of them at the same time. You just have to download like one at a time. So there's no magical way, sorry. kind of have to go in here and just kind of do it all one at a time, which could take some time, but well, at least not that I know of. I don't see any links saying like download the whole pack. But if you have time, just click one at a time. Sorry. So I feel like this guy's getting looking a lot better. See one thing here. See, so this is like the important part. You see how flat that got? And maybe that's where we have to use the move infinite. To give that. So I'm thinking like of an egg shape, you know? Okay, hopefully that helps you. I know it sucks because you have to do one at a time, but it also helps you pick, figure out which ones you really want. But that's kind of what I tend to do. So I'll do around this whole thing, kind of figure out like what's working and what's not. And sometimes you'll find things way later on that you're like, oh, this should have been fixed. You see how Infinite was moving the neck part, so I had to switch to my other tool. So yeah, so the main idea behind this asset is to try to make it as high quality visual effects wise, high detail. So we're probably going to go into some details with texture XYZ. And detail that stuff out, texture it, and I also want to print it, so I have to make sure that it works for both, right? So it was getting too pointy there, so I have to kind of take it down. Because if you look at your forehead is not pointed like that. It's round, but it has a nice curvature to it, you know? Like. So sometimes we just have to widen some of the areas that we think are one way, they should be really another way. Yeah, let's see if we went to let's get to the side just so we can compare. Make sure it's duplicated. So we could see the changes that we made. I think it's quite different from what it used to be. Now he has more of a jaw, cheekbones are very strong, fill in that gap here, you see. So it's nice to have a duplicate of it too, because then you go back and check some things that you might have liked or some things you didn't like. Like for sure, I think it's a big improvement, and it still could be improved some more. Like this part here, transition could be. Just fill in that little gap a little more. You know, but you see quite the difference, right? Even this part we can smooth out a little more. on. So it looks like it's almost time to switch to another project. And we'll also do some test renders with this guy. I think I definitely like the longer mouth, like much lower. Yeah, it's a small decisions, right? Like a lot of that stuff is what kind of starts to bring it to life, and sometimes if you get stuck and don't want to change things, it becomes a little cumbersome. Oh, thanks. Thanks, J Mac. Let's save this guy at this stage. Maybe we'll come back before the end of the stream. But we had 2 more characters to work on. So it's kind of how I avoid, I guess, keeping things boring. You know, like things get like keeping things fresh, because they tend to get pretty boring for me. Like I'll get tired of looking at wrinkles for this eye. So I'll switch over to a different project. But let's see, what else we have. I did start working on this lion thing, lion/tiger thing. I was working on. I kind of want to print and try some of the clay brushes on this. So this is a couple different types of hairs that I was trying out. I wanted to make this a mask, but I'm not sure where it's going. So we'll see. Maybe we'll do something now. But I was playing around with the idea of, like, this is kind of what I started with. You know, laying out hair, fur, I guess. I actually started with this. Is it that one or this one? So I was just playing with different ideas. It depends. If it's for my personal, it could last for a long time. If it's for work related stuff, I have definitely a deadline, so I always need to hit those. So there's that project, and then there's this other project. But let's say if you were doing something for a production like Black Panther or something that's like a big hero you have probably 4 weeks to make a full asset. So it really depends, you know. And then sometimes you have less time than that. You have 2 weeks to finish a whole character. So it all depends what it has to do, how close it's gonna get. So it really depends on a lot of different attributes. So this one's something we were working on last week that I want to continue working on. So maybe we'll work on this guy today. Let's see. Any other questions? See how dense this is. No, it's not too bad. Definitely needs to come up, right? Since we cut away the other stuff. I keep switching over from all these different ones that I have here. That's why I decided to give them to you guys, because some depends on what it is. There's things that I can see in different ones. Obviously, we kind of don't need that one. It's kind of outdated. So I'll probably update my interface soon and then send everybody a global email. But I really like using the red. Red is my favorite color, so you know it's cool. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Guyver, so maybe that's what my influences is. I haven't watched Guyver in ages, but you know, when I was a kid, I used to watch Guyver all the time. So that and my daughter, she started watching Power Rangers and going back to the back catalog, and it got me thinking like maybe I should make a Power Ranger or a bad guy or something, you know. So I think that's kind of where this is going. Some sort of a biomechanical character. But yeah, definitely Guyberish. Let's change this music. It's starting to get a little annoying. But I'm glad you guys are digging some of the stuff that I'm working on here. Hey, how's it going, Rudy? Thanks, man. Yeah, I'm actually gonna get back to those bugs next week, I think, because you're right. I need to finish those guys. I had to step back and kind of reevaluate where I want to take those guys. So, but I think it's a good idea to hit those guys back. Oh, thanks, Ghost. Ghost Light Studios. Yeah, man, you guys gotta get on that ZBrush, you know, or you know whatever inspires you. Like find like for me, inspiration comes from everywhere, right? Like I love insects, so anytime I see an insect, it really inspires me to think of different things. Or also just you know all kinds of stuff. I surround myself with things that inspire me as well. So that's what when I look around, I see things that are cool and like make me want to make other cool things, you know. I know it's kind of some down times right now with what's going on, but you guys got to stay positive and just keep pushing forward. And you know, if it's been a while since you touched ZBrush, this is maybe probably a good opportunity to, you know, to jump back on it. And as you can tell, a lot of this stuff starts from like some stuff that looks pretty ugly to eventually looking cool. Hopefully, you know, with some luck, right? And you see, it's all primitive stuff. So this is all stuff you guys can do. You know, it's nothing special that I'm doing. Just I just do a lot of it and fail fast. And if something's not working, well, eliminate it and move on. And also, like I was saying, if you guys want to keep it fresh, just try, you know, work on 2 or 3 projects at a time, and then from there, whenever you get bored of one, switch to the next one, and that will probably keep it going. At least for me, that's the momentum. That's how I catch momentum, you know. And then sometimes I'll be thinking of another project and come back to the alien or come back to whatever, or sometimes you also need time away from certain things, you know, so that you can kind of see them in their true life, the true light, and then be like, it's not working, move on, or it's working, it has potential, keep moving forward on it, you know. And also, I know sometimes when you've been putting a lot of hours in and getting all this stuff to work, and then it's not working, you kind of feel bad, so you don't want to move on. You want to kind of like, I guess keep working at noodling on it until it feels right. Sometimes it's never gonna feel right, so sometimes it's okay to move on and just keep moving, you know. There's still some things that are bothering me about this guy, but it doesn't mean I'm gonna stop working, you know. Like one major thing that still bugs me, it's the mouth part. That mouth part is still not quite working for me, but the rest is. So I could kind of, I'll deal with that eventually. But now it's like I want to block the rest of the body up. So what do I need to do? Just keep working on it. Just like my samurai guy, right? My samurai Beatles guys that I was doing. I was super enthusiastic about them, and then eventually I just kind of, it fizzled out. We spent, I think, maybe two streams on them, but we'll come back to them, no big deal. But I really appreciate, I think Rudy reminded me of them. I kind of had given up on them, to be honest, but thanks, Rudy, appreciate it. I'm gonna go back to them and continue to work on those guys. We got pretty far. We just didn't get to any of the refinement. Let's see. Oh, we're doing pretty good on time. How's everybody doing? So here I'm just kind of blocking basic anatomy down, you know. Nothing, I don't have any reference, I'm just kind of using for memory, and then I'll go back and refine it if something seems very off, like this off, but it's okay. We're just playing with the stuff right now. Let's change this to 10. Oh, I'm glad it's working out for you. I'm glad it's inspirational. That's the whole point of these streams, at least for me, to help people that are stuck. You know, I was stuck at one point and had to learn to move forward. And sometimes it takes a lot, sometimes it doesn't. Yeah, feel free to ask any questions. So it's just kind of beefing him up a little bit, you know. Well, it's looking a little stubby, so I might have to extend the legs a little bit, but we're just getting started, right? So not a big deal. Could be that I'm bulking him up too much. That's a possibility. down. So the reason I'm moving these down, they're all separate pieces, but I want to make the adjustments for the height. So if I was creating this for an animated film or something that I'm going to animate, definitely I will have to figure out like where his mouth is going to split or he needs to blink or anything like that. So I will definitely be trying to figure that out now. Yeah, well, I would, when I re-topologize it, that's when I would kind of like add the mouth pocket. So I wouldn't do that now unless he was like a monster with teeth, like he's always like grinning, or he always has like some kind of like, I don't know, bite you look. That's when I would make the mouth cavity kind of concave for the beginning. But because this guy's like, this is his default look, there's no point in doing that yet. But I could, you know. So like I was saying, so what I'm doing here is I'm gathering all these pieces that are all separate, and I'm going to do a merge down, so I can merge these pieces down. So now if you look at it, now they're all one unit, and I can start doing other things like making them longer, you know, so he doesn't feel so stubby. That's kind of what I'm trying to do. But also one thing I'm going to do is still keep them separate, even if I dynamesh them, but keep groups on. So, you know, that's probably too dense. Let's go 64. So there we go. So they're still separate, so I can still manipulate them like if they were separate objects, especially even if I use the move topological. So let's say I wanted to just move the knee. See, I can still just move the knee and not have to worry about the rest of the leg. But if I wanted to move the rest of the leg, I can. I could move it with the other move tool. Yeah, maybe I could do some poly paint on this. That might help if you're curious about it. But usually what I would do is probably take it to Substance Painter and then do some metallic paints there, and then you know, like worn down stuff. Like that's kind of, maybe we'll do some of that as well. I will most likely do it in Maya. I tend to do all my blend shapes in Maya. You know, the layer stuff, that's kind of some of the stuff that maybe you could play around with if you weren't here earlier. Since this guy doesn't have subdivision, so he's pretty dense. He's pretty dense, but we could still play around with him with layers. So let's maybe do that. I gotta turn off Dynamesh. I think the thing that I like it from the front, but the thing I don't like is that it looks like a lip. Like he's like doing this thing with his lip in the bottom, like lower. And that's the part that I don't like, so maybe that's something we need to change. It just makes him look like he's not that smart, you know? And I think that's the biggest issue that I'm happy with that part of the design. So maybe we could play around with maybe something different. Maybe the design continues down. I don't like that either. So let's continue to smooth some of this stuff out. Another part of the designs, maybe gives more of a, I don't know, like a human nose, so that kind of breaks that tangent, so it doesn't feel like it's just a scoop. Maybe that might help it. We'll find out. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Well, these are all design decisions that, you know. We could make now. Which film can you see my aliens? Well, I worked on a few alien movies, like literally Alien vs Predator 2. So you can see some of my aliens there. You can see what else? Skyline. That's another one that had aliens. There's another one. What is it called? It's hard to remember these names. Battle for LA. I worked on that stuff too. So check those out. Check out my website, MagVFX. Let me show you some links so that. If you want to follow me, you can go on there. So feel free to follow me anywhere here or check out my website. See, we have about 20 minutes left, so we can do some cool design stuff on this. I'm slow, man. I wish I was faster. But, you know, there's always something to continue working on. Yeah, Battle for LA was interesting, right? Could have been better, but it was a decent film. So what I'm thinking here is kind of the reverse of the sockets here that are happening. So he has vents at the bottom and the top. So this is kind of what I'm thinking about this design. If you guys are wondering. So for the hard edges stuff, I tend to do a lot of my work with the damp standard, and I just kind of reverse it. So if I wanted to make these sharp, I'm just holding Alt and then just kind of going in there and making these sharper edges. So you see, and then I kind of blend them together. So I have to go back and mask these things again, and then hit them with the H polish. Oh, actually, that wasn't H polish. Just to get them to flatten out. Does that make sense? Yeah, I'm slow, man. I'm a dinosaur. I've been doing this for a long time, so I've seen people that are incredibly fast. It's crazy. Oh yeah, Groot. Yeah, that's another alien, I guess. I've completely forgot about. Oh, thanks, Vector. So let's see what this is looking like. Well, I don't like it. But you guys can see the difference there. I think the nose is kind of cool, but the rest doesn't work for me. Not a big deal. We'll just have to go and erase it. Yeah, it doesn't look right. Not sure if even the nose is working. Yeah, you're right. It does kind of look like that. That's the part I don't like about it. But let's see what we can do. I guess you could have some kind of like a little bit of a gas mask. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Maybe that could work, because then that could go with the spikes he has all around. Let's see what we can do about that. Well, that's the whole point, right? We're trying all this stuff to see what works, what doesn't work. I feel like it needs to be a continuation of this design. Like maybe something even that simple with some hints of details. Yeah, something that simple could just work. Maybe each one could have like an offset so that it feels more. So I like that better than the previous thing. That just doesn't look right. Still could take another pass at it because it feels like it's still missing something. Probably the gas mask, like Sub-Zero or something. Yeah, maybe some of this stuff could be like a. I think that's probably what I'm gonna do. See, let's look up some reference. Because right now I'm just kind of play with shapes. Good one, Hannibal. Yeah, something like this could work. I think you're right. Yeah, it's a good idea, man. Oh, Cyrex, yes. Cyrex for the win, yeah. Let's see. Oh, that could work too. I guess I'll have to try both. That would definitely give him. Maybe I have to tone it down. Yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking the Sub-Zero one. I think. No, thanks, man. Sometimes it helps to get some suggestions. Help. That's obviously not the mask, but this is just yeah, Sub-Zero has a nicer profile, and it kind of I think will work with the shape of this guy. So here I just did a simple extract, nothing crazy, just trying to get another piece of geometry that I can play around with, just to kind of block out that shape. So I guess one thing that would be nice is if I just remove the one from here. Since I have to put the other one on top. So one thing that I guess I'll leave you guys with is expression that I used to hear a lot. It's about killing your babies. Killing your babies meaning like if you have some design you're working on and you're finding that it's not working out, it's okay to just start over and slash half of it off and not worry about it, that's like the main thing to remember. Where sometimes like you're holding this stuff so precious that it really hinders you, kind of handicaps you in the way. And that's one thing to remember. Sometimes you just have to, like, that front part wasn't working, let's get rid of it, not cry about it. So here I'm just kind of looking at what Sub-Zero has, kind of getting inspired by it. Maybe I have to get rid of that nose too. So that could potentially work. I think that's just blocking that out looks better. I guess the weird thing about the mask, it has to go. It has to go all the way to the back, which kind of starts to block some of that design, but not a biggie. We'll figure something out. So I'm thinking it has to be integrated into these vents somehow. We'll see. You guys have any questions before we leave? Well, maybe something like that. It's funny, it kind of looks like a little mustache. We'll figure something out for that guy. That's not too bad, actually. Once it becomes more hard surface. Oh, I'm glad it helped you. I really appreciate you tuning in, and hopefully, you know, you could, you know, inspire others as well. Let's make that a little more plainer with some of this stuff. All I'm doing, so I'm clicking Alt, and you see how it changes color. So if you just click Alt, instead of having to go in here and click on all these different tools, you could just click Alt on top of whatever model, and you see how it changes colors, and that's how you could modify all that. Another way I was doing it before with my other keyboard is just pressing up and down, if you know where the tools are at, and I'll quickly switch between them. So that's another good way, but Alt is pretty good. I think Alt is probably the better way to do it. Let's see. I think I'm gonna get rid of that nose part. That nose part is kind of breaking this whole thing. If you keep it straight, I think it might work much better. Yeah, I think that works much better. Most part makes it feel too human, and definitely try not to go too human. It's already kind of says a humanoid body. Yeah, that works better than that, I think. But yeah, guys, it looks like we're coming to an end. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll probably be on either next week or the week after that. Or at least I will. You know, you guys could keep checking out the other streams. But, hey man, how's it going, Jesse? Thanks for joining. Just trying to figure out some design flaws on my current design, but not a big deal. That's what it's all about. Yeah, that works much better than what we had. Still feels like he's doing the thing with the lip, but I think it feels much better. Yeah, I can actually. If you guys are interested, I could do that on this sculpt. Since this guy is he's probably gonna get finished pretty quick. Oh, thanks, man. Happy extruder. Yeah, we could definitely take this guy into Substance Paint and figure out a color scheme, make him feel like it's like a Power Rangers villain or something. Be cool. Well, thanks, guys. Really appreciate you guys tuning in. I'll see you guys next week or next time. See you guys later. All right, Randy. See you.